Hello guys, welcome back to a new video. For this video, we are going to learn how to create a simple database on Excel using macros. For this task, the first thing that you're going to need is to activate the developer tab. This one right here. Not everybody has it on. Not everybody. If you're using Excel right now, you probably don't have it right there, but that doesn't mean you can activate it. What you have to do is position yourself in any part of the ribbon, any part. You can be in any tab, something that is blank. You give a right click and you choose the option customize the ribbon, this one right here. So this window will appear. We're customizing the ribbon, not any tab, the ribbon. So here, where it says customize a ribbon, you have the main tabs. You have tool tabs and you have the main tabs. We want the main tabs, or all tabs for this matter. As you can see, I have pretty much everything activated, and right here we have the developer tab. If we click right here, we have everything activated: code, add-ins, controls, XML, modify, everything. So probably you have this one off. So what you have to do is just tick the tick box and activate it. After that, you're gonna have it right there. So you click OK, and then your tab will be activated. Now we did this because we are going to use macros to create this simple database. To accomplish what we want to do, we will need 4 worksheets. We can use only 3, but we are going to use another tool, so we probably gonna need a 4th one. These worksheets are the ones that I have right here: registry, database, query, and locations. As you can see, I already have my database created with all the fields and all the buttons. I have my database right here. It's already got some information with its buttons too. Query, this worksheet, we are going to use it to search for an item specifically. And finally, we have a 4th worksheet that is called locations. Right here, I saved some locations where that we are going to be using. So now I'm going to explain to you what my example is about. This database, it's going to be to save some items. It's going to be an inventory registry form. So our database is going to save the basic information from some products. In this case, it's going to be warehouse products like tools and stuff like that. Tools, nails, furniture that you may use in a warehouse. So those are the worksheets that you're going to need. If you need a database with more tables, you can absolutely create a bigger database using these steps. It's really simple. First, we are going to start by designing our database. This is already finished, and for this we are only going to use what we already know: the simple formatting tools. So for this, I've got this blank worksheet. This is another book, and this is just to explain to you how I did what I did really quick. So I resized some cells, some columns and cells, just by this figuring out which could be the size of the information that I'm going to use. I resized it. I spaced it out. Just like that. So the wider ones are the ones where I'm going to type the information. The more narrow ones, it's where I'm going to type like the labels. Item, ID number. That will be like the first one. Let me see some more. Those are the item ID numbers, product name, supplier, right here. Product name, supplier, and here I just put a border to so you can identify where are the cells where you are going to type your information. For the header, what I did, it's combine these 3 rows. You can only resize a row or you can combine it. It's just whatever you like to do. So what I did is this. I combined this, I merge and center, and I wrote inventory register form registry. I use the tools that we have right there. So I just center it. I put it in the center and then in the middle. And then you just change the font type, you change the color, you change everything. So why in my form I don't have the lines? But this is because I just selected all and I gave it a fill color. In my case, I did it all white. And for the buttons, I went to the Insert tab, to Shapes, and I choose whatever I thought it looked more like a button. The one that looks more like a button is this one. You can choose whatever shape you want, and you can give it a format that looks like a button. So that looks like a button to me, but you can also, you have a lot of our very pre-designed formats that you can choose. Then I gave it a right click and I edit the text, and I just wrote inside the button, and you can change the format, the font, to whatever you like. So basically that's what I did. I just picked a format that I like and I did it. So it's really basic. The important thing here is a database. I'm going to move to the demo one. First of all, you need to be clear on what is the purpose of your database. In this example, as I said before, the database is for inventory management. You need to know which are the fields that your database table is going to need. In my case, my fields for these examples are item ID number, product name, country of origin, supplier, brand, type of container, quantity on stock, and warehouse location. The buttons that I'm going to use are Save Registry, Clear, Find, and Go to Database. That is for my registry form. So these are the fields that my database is going to store. It's the information that I'm going to type and store in my database. You have the design. You can start by that. You have your design. You got whatever you like. You can insert some images. You can choose your font type, your colors, everything. But now we are going to move on to our database worksheet. So let's pay attention to this, because this is going to be what's more important of everything. You may think that the macros are the more important thing, but our database is like the center of everything. So here I put a header, which is inventory database, because this is the database, and I put the same field names that I did on the registry, because this information I'm going to type it here and it's going to be stored here in my database. So I wrote the same names as headers of my database. These are the same. You don't have to write them exactly like you did. Like here, for example, quantity on stock. I have it here and I wrote it the whole words, but here I put it smaller. But everything is the same thing. So we wrote the headers for the table. Item ID, product name, country of origin, supplier, brand, type of container, quantity on stock, and warehouse location. We have all the headers, which are the same of your form. Now this is what we are going to do. We are going to select the headers. We're going to select them, those headers, and one more row plus one more. So it's going to be 2 rows, the headers and one more. We are going to go to the Insert tab and to the Table tool. We're going to click there. Here we are creating a table. We're defining our headers and the other row as a table. Here, this little window asks us if our table has headers. We are going to click on the tick box, because our purpose is that those fields that we wrote at the top, the headers, are like the basis of our database. So here is the range of what we selected, and we're going to say OK. And now we have a table. You can choose whatever design you like from the pre-designs, or you can assign one yourself. You can do this. There's no problem. As you can see, I have one that is already pre-designed that goes with the colors I already choose. So what's next is really important. Here on the group of commands that is called properties, we have the table name. It's really important that you give name of your choosing to your table. You can leave it table 1, but it's easier for you to identify your tables, your databases, if you name them, because if you have more than one, like 4 or 5, you can get messed up and if you have the table 1 or table 2. So give it a name. In this case, for this example, I'm going to give it the inventory. My table is going to be named inventory because it's what it is. I'm going to save information of products as an inventory. We want that our database to be organized numerically in ascending order. So we are going to go to the Data tab here and click on the sort icon here. I'm going to click outside my table and then click on sort. Sorry. Things happened. Sort. Now I have it. And since we want to store it numerically and we need it to be on ascending order, here where it says column is a sort by, we're going to choose item ID number. So everything that we save on our database is going to be arranged by their ID number. We're going to live on values and from A to C because we need it to be ascending from the smallest to the largest. And then we are going to click OK. So as you can see, here we have that is on ascending order. We have a little arrow that is pointing to the top. So now we have our database. Finally, before we go into the use of macros to the programming of the buttons that we already have using macros, I'm going to add another button. I'm going to go to Insert, Shapes. I'm going to choose a shape, and here I'm going to add a final button. And this button, it's going to be named Go Back to Registry. I'm going to resize it and I'm going to give it the same type of font that I already used. You can use whatever you like, whatever you want. There you go. Go back to registry. I'm going to center it. Probably make it a little bigger. There. I have my new button. So what this button, what it's going to do is going to send us back to the registry whenever we are on our database. Now that we have all our buttons and that we already created our table that is going to be our database, we are going to move on to the programming of the buttons. For this, we are going to use the macros. That's why we activated the developer tool. Remember that. So what is a macro? A macro is a set of instructions that are recorded to be executed as many times as you want. These instructions are going to be executed automatically as soon as you click on the button. So that's what a macro is. It's basically going to record whatever you do and save it on the button. And whenever you click that button, the macro it's going to execute the same thing you did. So we are going to start recording the macros on our buttons. So we're going to position ourselves right here on the inventory registry form, which is the registry worksheet. And we are going to click on the button that it's go to database. So this button is going to send us back to the database. That's what our macro is going to do. So we're going to go to the developer tab, and here on the command group that is called code, we have this tool right here that is called record macro. We are going to use it to record the action that we are going to perform, so it can be recorded and then added to that button. So now we're gonna hit record macro, and this window is going to be appearing. So this is record macro, and it asks us for the macro name. The first macro, we are going to name it go to data. Because that's what it's going to do. Always name your macros. Give them a name that reminds you what it does, so you don't get confused. Then it says this workbook. We're going to leave it like that. If you want, you can write a small description for whatever the macro does. So you click OK. When we click OK, we start recording the action that we want to perform. The first macro, that is go to database, it's going to send us back to the database. So that's what we are going to do. We are only going to change from the registry worksheet to the database worksheet. And then we are going to stop the macro. We're going to stop the recording. Okay, it already started recording. We are only going to change to database, and that's everything. Here in the developer tab, we didn't change it. Look how this changed. It said record macro, and now it says stop recording. So we're going to hit stop recording. That's everything you have to do. Now we're going to go back to registry. We're going to give a right click on the go to database button, and here we have the option assign macro. Now we are going to assign the macro that we just did to that button. Assign macro, and I have here go to data. You have go to data right there. So now whenever I click to go to data, it's going to send me there. As you can see, it sent me back. So that's everything that we did. That was our first macro. It wasn't that hard, was it? Now we can move from the registry to database. Let's continue with the rest of the buttons. We will follow the same procedure with the go to database button. So on the database, remember that we did this button, that it's go back to registry or go back to register, or just go back, probably, whatever you want. So now we're going to do the same as we did before, but now we are going to do it from database to registry. So let's see. Record macro. This macro, it's going to be named go to registry. No spaces. Go to registry. Everything is going to be the same. As soon as I hit OK, it's going to start recording, and this is going to change. There you go. So now we move from database to registry, and we stop recording. So now we go back to database, right click on the button, assign macro, and it's going to be go to registry. Okay, and now whenever I click here, it sends me back to the registry. So it's pretty easy right there. Before we continue with the next button, we will fill the cells with the required information that is to be saved on our database. When we have done this, we proceed to record our macro. So we are going to fill this with information. So first we need some number for the item ID, sorry. So I'm going to give it any number. Product name. As I said before, this is going to be the inventory for tools for a shop. So it's going to be this one, cordless drill. That's the name of the product. The country of origin is United States. The supplier, let's say that is the store Ace. The brand is Craftsman. The type of container, usually a drill comes in a box. The quantity of stock, this is going to depend on the stock that you have. So let's say 20. And on the warehouse location. Here, in this part, we are going to use something different. Here, we're going to use this worksheet that we have here. And we are going to add a drop-down menu. We are going to create a drop-down menu. For this, I have previously created this list. Why did I do this? This is optional. You don't have to do it like this. It's optional. Here I have all the possibly locations where this product can be stored. So how are we going to do that drop-down menu? Which drop-down menu? One like the one I have right here. So what are we going to do? Let me go back here. We are going to go to data, to the tab data, and here we have on the group command that is called data tools, we have this option that is called data validation. So we're going to click there. It says data validation. circle invalid data, and create validation circles. We are going to choose the first one, data validation. Here in the settings, the validation criteria, allow any value. What we want to choose here is a list. Ignore blank and cell brown. And here, in source, we are going to choose all the locations that we already have on our worksheet that it's called locations. So I'm going to click here. This is going to minimize. I'm going to go to locations and I'm going to select everything, all the locations that I already have, without the header, just the locations. So everything is like this. It's going to be a list, and then you're going to choose the list of your locations and click OK. And now we have our drop down menu with every location. Why is it something that it's recommended for you to do? Well, if you have an employee typing all this information, they might make mistakes while typing, and you want to avoid these mistakes, because when somebody comes here and looks for information on your database, you want the location to be correct, because probably someone is looking for that item and it's going to go to the warehouse and look for the item where your database says so. And if it's not right, this person may be looking in the wrong place. So you avoid that by doing this. So now we're going to proceed and record the macro for the button Save Registry. The purpose of this button is to save this information that we already typed into our database. We are going to record the action of copy and pasting into the table. When we paste this information into each of the fields of our table, we have to paste it as values so we don't interfere with the format of the table. This macro's name, it's registry. And I click OK, and we start recording. So the first thing we have to do is go to the table on our database and add one row. We are going to insert one more row. So whenever we save each information, each row, another row it's going to open up. So we are going to proceed and copy and pasting as values. It's the one that has the 1, 2, 3, all of them. Product name, values, then country of origin, as values, then the supplier, then the brand, the type of container, the quantity on stock, and the warehouse location. That's the final one. So now whenever we save information, not all the item numbers are going to be in numerical order whenever we save them into our database. So we have to make sure that when we store them, we store them in numerical order. So we're going to go here to the filter, and here we're going to choose sort smallest to largest, and then we go back to the registry. We haven't finished. Now we are going to delete all the information. I recommend doing this with the delete key on your keyboard. Now that we did that, we click outside our fields and we stop the recording. We stop the recording, then we go to the button Save Registry. We give a right click and we assign the macro. So this is going to be Registry. It's the one that is going to save everything. And it's done. Now, we have to prove this. Let's see if it works. I'm going to save another item. When I hit the Save Registry button, there's going to be a glitch. This is normal. This is normal because the table is updating. Our worksheet is updating. Later we are going to correct this. We're going to fix it by going into the Visual Basic part of this database, and we are going to give some commands to correct this. So I'm going to save another item. It's going to be the number 2. The product name is going to be cordless ratchet. And it's going to be from the United States. The supplier is going to be the same and the brand is going to be the same. Type of container, also a box. Quantity on stock, let's say 25. And the warehouse location, that's going to choose something different. There you go. Now I'm going to click here. We're going to see the glitch, but that doesn't mean this doesn't work. Now let's go to our database, and there it is. It's stored numerically because this number is greater than the first one, and different item ID, different product name, and you can see here is stored somewhere else. So let's go back here. So it worked. It worked, and now we can store our data. We can use our form to store our data. The next step is to clear our fields. Sometimes we start typing things, and before we save it, we recognize that there's some mistake or probably wasn't the correct item or something. So we want to clear our fields, every cell that we already typed, and we have to clear it all together. So that's the next thing, and it's going to be pretty easy. For this, I'm going to fill all the spaces with whatever information. It doesn't matter. It can be just anything, letters, symbols, whatever. Because what we are going to record into our macro, well, this one can be like that because we validated. We have to choose one. Everything else. So now we are going to record our macro. It doesn't matter the information. It's not important. What it's important is what we are going to record, which is the clearing of the cells. So we're gonna hit record macro again in our developer tab. This is going to be clear. That's the name of the macro. gonna hit OK and start recording. And I'm going to delete all the cells. I'm going to clear them out. I'm going to click outside and then stop the recording. Now we have our macro to clean our cells. So now I'm going to go to clear and add a macro, which is clear. Okay, and it's done. So now I'm gonna fill them all with whatever info. And then I'm gonna hit clear. And it cleans it out. So now we're done with that. We have go to database, go back to registry, we have save registry, we have clear, and now we need to record the macro for find. So this is it's going to be a query. This is for the search of the items that are already in our database. That's what we're gonna do. So in this button, we are going to use some functions. And for this, we are going to need our third worksheet, which is query. Is this one? We're going to copy all the headers on our database table on the database worksheet and paste it on the query worksheet. I already did that. Here it is. So everything, all our headers that we have here, item, product name, country of origin, supplier, brand, etc., we are going to put them right here. You can type them or you can copy them. You can copy the row and then go to query and paste it, but also paste it as values so you don't bring all the format of the table. So you can do that. That's an option to make it faster. So we are going to work with this worksheet, and here is where we are going to use some functions. These functions we have seen before are the if-error function and the VLOOKUP function. The if-error function is basically used to trap errors in a formula. In other words, we are preventing errors from happening. So we are going to give this function a value, which is the argument that we want to check, and it's what it's going to happen if the result of this function is not an error, and then we are going to give it another value or something to do if the function results in an error. So we are going to prevent that the function gives us back an error like divided by 0 or name or another one. We have many errors that may happen. So this function is going to give us, if the result is not an error, it's going to give us the value that we want. It's going to perform the action we want. And if it's an error, it's going to give us something else, which is not an error, because we are giving that response to the function. The other function that we're going to use is VLOOKUP. We use this function when we need to find things in a table or arranged by a row. In our case, we want to find an item, a product, based on their item ID number. So what did I mean with range by a row? So we are going to look for this and it's going to give us all the row, all the information in the row. That's a console, that's a row. So we have to follow some order. We have to follow an order when we fill up this function, and we are going to see it right now. What are we going to do? So first, we are going to start here. We are going to type our function there, and we are going to copy it here. Okay? This is based on our database. This is based on this database, okay? Because we are going to look here. We are going to use the registry to find the information here. So our consult or search is going to be performed in this table, but it's going to copy the information here and send it to the registry form. So let's insert the function. The first function is if error. If error. And inside the function if error, here is the items inside the function. First, the value or whatever thing this function is going to perform if it's not a mistake, if it's not an error, and here is what it's going to do if it results in an error. So if it's not an error, whatever it is saved in that specific place, if it's not an error, then it's going to look for information, the information that we give it, that we give to the function. So here in value, we are going to place the VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP, and we open our function. So first, lookup value. It is what you want to look for. That's the first thing. So we are going to go to the registry form and select this, specifically this, because that's what we are going to look for. And if it finds it, then it's going to give us all this. Let's go back to query. Sorry, it changed it. Here. What's next? We already selected that. That's what we are going to looking for. Now we are going to freeze the cells. This is already done. We are going to do this with the currency. We're going to immobilize the column, which is C, by placing a currency symbol before it, and then we are going to immobilize the row, which is row 6, by placing the currency symbol before the number, comma. Now we are going to separate by a comma, and we are going to continue. What's next? What's next is where you want to look. Where are you looking? That's why it says table array. There, it's our database. So here in database, or we can actually type it, we are going to type the name of our table. Remember that I told you that it was important? It's because of that. Inventory. Inventory. That's the name of our table, inventory. I separated with a comma. Then we need the index number of the column. which is the column number where we have this data. Remember that it's the number 1. It's number 1. If we go to our database, it's here. It's number 1. It's A1. Let's go back here. Is number 1. And then we're gonna separate with a comma, and for an exact match we are going to select false. This range for lookup, we don't need that. We don't need that. We are going to close. And then that was the first part. If it's not an error, if the result is not an error, then you do this. Now what is it going to do if it's an error? We separate by a comma and we place this. So instead of giving us an error message, it will give you just a clear cell. And enter. And there we go. We already did this. Registry, the cell for the registry, the inventory table, the number 1, which is where this the place of the first field, and then the exact result, which is false, and then what it's going to give us if it actually it's a mistake, if it doesn't find what we are looking for. This is why they didn't find inventory. Okay. That was a mistake for our query. The name of my table, because I changed something, it's not inventory, it's actually table 1. Table 1. There it is. That was my mistake, but it's corrected. So make sure that when you create your table, you give it a name so this doesn't happen to you. So now it's actually right. So what's next is to copy this. We are going to copy to the right. So now it's in everything. But we are going to have to change this. This was the place, the number 1 place. This is the second, so we have to change this 1 for a 2, and then this 1 for a 3, because it's in the 3rd place, and so on. This is the 4th place. This is the 5th place. This is the 6th place. This is the 7th place. And the last one is the 8th place. So there you go. Now everything is right. If we did it right, we can actually look for something. So we already did that. We haven't recorded the macro yet. So let's continue with the find button. Let's see if it works. We are going to go to the registry and we are going to type one number, the number that we know that it is in our database. Enter. Let's go to the query. We haven't activated the button yet, so we have to hit enter. Go to the query, and there it is. It find it. Lo encontré. It find it. So it works. Whatever we did works. Now we have to record the macro. To continue with the find button, now we are ready to record that macro. Let's erase this. We are going to the developer tab and we are going to click, let's make the same number, and go to the developer tab and record macro. This is going to be named find. And we are going to click and OK. Now here the query is there and find it. Now we are going to copy all this information back into the registry. Again, in order and as values from the query. We are done. There you go. We're going to click on an empty cell. Here in the developer tool, we're going to hit stop recording, and we already did that. Now we are going to assign to the find button the macro. Assign macro, find, OK. Now we are going to clear it and we're going to search for the other one and click in find. It glitched again. It doesn't matter, we're going to fix it right now. But as you can see, it actually works. It finds it. So with that, we finish all the process of recording the macros. What's left is to correct the glitching. Remember, the glitch is on the Save Registry button and in the Find button. So we are going to fix this. How are we going to do this? We are going to the Visual Basic tool. Here we have everything. We are going to the modules. And we are going to look for our buttons that actually glitch. So which is the registry macro. So we're going to go here, give a space, and there we are going to write this application screen updating, which is this one, equals to false. And we're going to go to the end of that one, right at the end, which is this one. And now we're going to write application dot screen updating, and it's going to be true. Then we are going to go to the find button. Let me find it. Here it is, find, and we're gonna do the same. Application dot screen updating, which is there, equals to false. And we're gonna go to the end of this one, and at the end we're going to write application dot screen updating, and it's going to be true. And that's it. We close it, we close this, and it's done. So why did we did that? Application screen updating is a setting that we use here in Excel that when it's turned on will visibly update your worksheet on your screen. That's the glitching. When it's on, it's when it's true. So we need to turn it off. That's why we start with application screen updating false, because we're turning it off, and we turn it on once we're done. We do that with the save registry and with the find, because we don't want to see in our screens how our worksheet is updating. So that's why we use that one. So when it's true, it's because it's turned on, and we are going to see how the worksheet it's updated. And when it's false, it's turned off, and that's when we are not seeing when the screen is updated. So that's what you did there. Let's see. Let's save another one and let's see if it glitches now. We're going to save something else. This is going to be number 3, and it's going to be bell pen hammer, country of origin United States, supplier it's going to be Ace, our brand it's going to be the brand of the store, the type of container it's going to be an X because it doesn't have one, and let's say that we want 50 hammers on stock, and we are going to save them here. Now save registry. You see, it didn't glitch. And let's see our database, and there it is. Bell pen hammer United States, Ace, Ace, X, and aisle 1S bottom row. So it didn't glitch, and if we want to find something, we click on find. It didn't glitch that much, and there you go. So with that, we finished this. But how do we save this file? This is a file with macros, so you cannot save it as a common workbook. You have to save it in a special way. You're going to go to the File tab, save as. You're gonna choose a place where you want to save your workbook, whatever place you want, let's say documents, and you are going to choose here where it says save as type. You're going to make sure to save it as a Excel macro enabled workbook, and you're going to save it. If you just save it as an Excel workbook, your macros are not going to work. So you have to save it as Excel macro enabled workbook in order to actually work. And when you save it, it's going to be saved like this. As you can see there, it's different from the regular workbook because it has the macros on. So with that, we finish this tutorial of how to do database, a simple database using macros on Excel. I hope this helps you, and see you later.